It is interesting listening to Mora speak of the astral plane. He doesn't speak of it as a place that takes too much getting used to. In fact, it's a place that should seem familiar to us because, he says, we have been there before. Remember, he calls it home. In this next lecture, Your Arrival on the Astral, Mora speaks on how we will occupy ourselves once we finally leave our physical bodies for good. It seems that there is still work to be done, even though our surroundings have changed. This next session is ready to begin. Let's join it now and find out what happens when we arrive on the astral.
This is the subject we're going to talk about tonight on the astral plane. This is the plane you go to when you leave your physical body for good. This is the plane I like to talk about because this is the plane where I reside in as my home, which is your home too. Alright students, you left the body, you're gone. You're gone for good off the earth plane. So what do you expect? What the astral plane is like? What we try to do is when the soul leaves is make the same environment in the astral plane that he had here on the earth plane. This way here, it does not disturb the student so much of being into a strange place. For one thing we do, I got a little trouble tonight talking through the vocal cords, so you have to if I repeat a little bit. For let's say there's a soul or student laying in a hospital bed, preparing to come home. So what we do, we go to bring him to the astral plane, into the same environment of this hospital that he laid in. Let's say he was really possessed with painkillers in this, that he did not know actually what was going on. He didn't even realize he was dying. So we set up here in the astral plane to set up a room exactly like it was on the earth plane. So then, when he does wake up, the news is not brought to him right away. Right away that he has left his body. For instance, we even bring the wife of this person when she's asleep at night to come and sit in this room with him, that he still thinks he's on the earth plane. She has no recollection of this at all, because we blocked this strictly from her memory of the night that she was sleeping. She does not remember this at all. But gradually we bring to him that he has left his body and that his life is to continue here on the astral. So what we do then, we kind of let him roam around, call it, of getting used to the place. There's always one thing to remember, students. You always go to the same environment and the same level that you were here on earth. So if you come from an environment that was poor, It's the same way you're going to reach the same level on the astral. And you will stay there until you start progressing for knowledge of raising yourself higher. One thing, always remember, the good Father gave each man, and I should say each woman, the freedom of free will. There's nobody in the astral that's going to force you to do anything. They will suggest, your teachers will suggest, but they'll never fully force you. So this is why here on earth, what I think I mentioned in the other tape back about earthbound spirits. These spirits that want to hang around on earth, and the reason they want to stay here on earth, that they came to so much materialistic in their life here on earth that they cannot give it up. Like you read a lot, students, about haunted houses, you call them. Go and investigate these haunted houses when you become aware and psychic and know what's going on. And you will find out it probably was the person that originally built this house, or he became materialistic and didn't want to leave it. And this poor soul is wandering around here on earth, of wondering, why are these strangers moving into this house that I build? Which gets him upset. So this is where you get your haunted houses. He does everything of trying to scare these people out of his house. And this is where your earthbound spirits come. Another subject you got on earthbound spirits is the ones that hang in a cemetery. Students, this is where I have to bring the church in. Where I have nothing to say wrong about the churches. They teach love. And love your fellow man. And in these tapes, I am not telling anybody, no student, to quit their church. Because church is good. But they do things wrong. Of just, I think everybody is guilty of. They preach that you have to wait for the judgment day. And when you develop your psychic power, take a walk into a cemetery someday. And you will feel these souls that are hanging around their graves. Students are waiting for somebody to come to judge you. They're waiting for the judgment day of what the churches say when the good Father's going to judge everybody. These are the hard ones we have to work with. When you're from a little child on, you're indoctrinated into this belief of you are going to be judged. Just because you left the body, the mind does not change yet, it's still there. So when you do develop your psychic power, every time you pass a cemetery, just say a few words in your memory, in a thought, say, look towards the light and let the angel of mercy come and guide you home. And this they will pick up and they'll see the light. And one of the teachers will come and guide them home. Now you're on the astral. I pretty well explained about the earthbound spirits. And you're wondering what's going to happen next. The next thing, what's going to happen to you, you're going to go into the hall judgment. Where this beautiful bright light will be shining. And as you walk through this light, this whole life on earth is going to pass through you, of all the good you did, of all the bad you did, of what lessons you learned and what lessons you didn't learn. And some of you are going to weep. And then there's going to be smiles for some of you for the good you did. And then you're going to come in front of your teacher. And you're going to sit and discuss with him or her the subjects you missed in this life. And from there you're going to go to the hall of knowledge, where you're going to learn of what you must learn to evolve yourself higher. It could be a number of subjects on love, on greed. It might be a subject on righteousness. But this is what you're going to learn. And you'll probably be staying into the astral maybe 100, 200, 300 years. Or maybe shorter. It all depends on you. But up here in the astral, when you start learning your lessons that you're going to take back down to earth with you, it is just like you're going to college. Like school again, students. But the only difference is between the earth and the astral school, you got your instructors and you can face them and discuss your problems of what you want to learn with them face to face. And it's a more glorified time in the astral. Because you're put on the level of which you are, and everybody else is in the same level that you are. There is no smarter or no dumber person than you are on this level. If there is somebody you hated on the earth plane, this person would never be on the same level with you on the astral plane. There's no way that you two would ever meet. And you learn your subjects and you go over them and you practice them and you discuss them, and you usually go into with a group of 10 persons, 10 souls. And you 10 work together through the whole time on the astral plane with your master. But you're probably thinking, why can't we just stay on the astral plane and learn? Students, you can. You can stay on the astral plane and learn. There's nobody going to force you to come back to this earth plane. And now let's take a walk through the halls of this great giant of university. And shut your eyes while I explain to you and picture what I say. You notice the corridors upon this hall are all made out of white varnished stone. And you see the teachers coming there with their white robes with the blue belts on. These are student teachers. These are souls that evolved high enough that they can stay on the astral, and they're learning how to work with the souls on the earth plane like I do. We call these guides right for now, or protectors. Their first assignments will be on earth is just protecting you. Not to teach you, but to protect you. Now you'll see the teachers with the gold belts. These are highly evolved teachers. And these are the teachers that work with you on the earth. Or they work with you on the astral. But you maybe think why they want to spend their time helping you. Students, when we go back to the Father, we all go back together. For if I was a high master and I would say, the heck with the souls that are below me, would I not be greedy of just wanting for myself? For I would lower myself, students. And this is why we all work together. We work together on love. And this is the most important part, like I said in the other time, is divine love. The astral is beautiful. It is, or should I say, the astral, the earth plane is a reflection of the astral plane. But it's just like I said, you have the freedom even more on the astral plane than you do on the earth plane. Because there's nobody here that's your boss to tell you what to do. They only will suggest of what you should learn. But after you see how the students are progressing, you get this inspire to go on, to raise yourself higher. Because you can see as you raise yourself higher on the astral plane of the beauty that comes and the love that comes, you know what's it going to be like when you reach to your Father. We got on the astral plane what we call the lower astral. This is where the church differs. The lower astral can be what the church called hell. This is where a person will spend a long time. Your hard criminals, your dictators that hurt people of different countries, They'll spend thousands of years in this low part of the astral. And students, I mean it's low. Because all these souls that are on this low part are all the same thinkers. And they remain there until finally they realize what they've done. And then they come begging for mercy for their next chance. And when they're ready to come begging for mercy, a teacher will appear and bring them a little higher and start indoctrinating them into the love of our Father. We got on the astral what you call somebody that comes into the astral, we call a kindergarten, that have no knowledge at all of what the astral is like. They have no awareness. And they go back to kindergarten and they start learning all over again. They didn't accomplish nothing in this life, students. Now let's say they weren't bad. They went through their regular life of working hard, going to church, but it didn't accomplish nothing what they come to earth to do. So they go back to kindergarten, what we'll call a kindergarten. And they start all over again of what they came to earth to learn. And we have some that come back that do remember of some of their lessons they come down to do. So they'll probably go into the first grade a little bit higher to learn new ones that they must carry on back down with them. But then a person that is well aware and knows what's happening after death and found out what their lessons here on earth, we'll say they go up to maybe the 6th grade on the astral. And get ready to prepare themselves to come maybe to earth for the last time. It's what we call here karma. The church calls it sin. And the church claims sin can be forgiven. But karma can't. Karma got to be worked off. That's why you're here on earth. You got karma. And what you're going through on earth, this is what you're working off. You're working all this karma off. And each life you go through, this is karma being worked off. But a lot of times, students, you put more karma on. But it's like anything you do, if it's good or if it's bad, it's like taking a rubber ball and bouncing it against a brick wall. It's going to come back at you. So if it's bad karma, it's going to come back at you bad. If it's good karma, it's going to come back at you good. You learned something from it. But the astral plane, students, is a learning plane. You'll meet your relatives up here. You'll have your own home, just like you here on earth, but much more beautiful here on the astral. You have more freedom, and students, one thing, you don't have to sleep. The colors are much more beautiful here on the astral. Because you're all working in this one level with everybody no smarter or no dumber than anybody else. You're all on an even keel. And when, like I said before, you work with the 10 students that are about the same as you. And all 10 of you attend classes. You go off by yourself and you discuss your karma of what you want to come back to Earth for. And you help each other. And if you, when you do return to Earth, there is nights that you are brought here on up to the astral for you to meet. And you can take your progress, see how you're doing. I think I talked long enough now on the astral. Is there any questions?
I have a question, Mary. Is there marriage up on the astral?
No, there isn't. Marriage was brought to Earth mostly because of the physical. Marriage was brought to Earth because you were bringing, when you come here on Earth, one of your duties are, between man and woman, is building new vehicles for souls to come into. And there has to be a stable law on Earth of raising these souls to a certain age. And this is where marriage came in. Otherwise, on Earth, they'd be going wild. But now, marriage is a law on Earth, but not in the astral. There are many laws on Earth. Does not mean that law is in the astral. There are many, what the churches call sin on Earth. But in the astral, it is not a sin. Because man made up these sins to try to rule the people. You understand that?
Yes.
Is there any other questions?
Mora, is the only way to work off karma to reincarnate back on Earth?
No, you can work off karma in the astral too. You also work off karma when you're sleeping. Karma is always working. And back in your subconscious, you know this. And you are always trying to work the karma off. Students, every one of you students that are listening to me tonight, I would suggest, if you knew somebody that was a good hypnotist, of let them take you back or dig into your subconscious. And this would really help you out of what you're on Earth for. This is the fast way. But through my instructions of meditation, you can get all this information you need to know about yourself of just through meditation. You can find out what you're here for and what you must learn. But I think too you can just find out by taking your own inventory of what you must learn here on Earth. Because if you really, with an open mind, dug into yourself, I think you could find your faults, don't you?
Yes.
Is there any other questions?
I have another question, Mora. How did we first get involved with the idea, or how did we first start reincarnating? What was the reason for birth, death, and rebirth?
This is what you're talking about karma again now. This was set up by the Lords, the hierarchy of karma. But no, one thing you got to get straight. Karma is not bad. Karma is good. It is a way for you to work off so you can come purified back to the Father. And the hierarchy of the Lords of Karma set this, that through the physical, it is much easier to work the karma off in the physical than it is in the spirit, astral body. Of being here on Earth, going through the pain and the torture, of only having your five senses, and of not knowing what's coming, to learn how to know what's coming and how to handle it in the physical body of being tied down that you cannot just float away from it. You understand that?
Yes.
Any other questions? Then I'll close the session for tonight. And always remember that the teacher's always with you. And he's always smiling. He gets disgusted, but he'll never leave you. For he wants you to learn too. Good night.